Hello and welcome to another session. So in this session we will discuss about API input validation. So API testing is very important, especially these days, because we have the applications which are built upon microservice architecture. So earlier applications like our legacy system was built upon monolithic scene. So in the monolithic case, so APIs were not very important. So these days these are very important to so make we need to make sure that these are tested in all respects, functional and non-functional. When we talk about functional aspect, this means that whatever is expected from these APIs regarding business, this should be fulfilled. So for example there is a module which is related to job title, implies job title, says so it should be able to post the job title, update the job title, delete the job title, and so on. So these aspects are related to functionality of the application. Then we have non-functional aspect. This mean performance. So it should be within the valid performance. So application should respond within the valid time. So in the performance aspect, then we have security aspect. So in the security aspect there are many things, but input validation is one part. So in this session we'll cover only that input validation, which is part of our security aspect. So we will not cover all the security aspect in this session. So input validation case, we have API input validation ensures that the data provided to APIs is correct, secure, and within expected format before processing. Proper input validation helps prevent issues like security vulnerabilities, bad data storage, and application crashes. So if our APIs are not tested, are not properly input sanitized, then there can be security vulnerabilities. For example, if the user is able to put the cross-site scripts into those fields, then so there can be bad thing happen. For example, in the other case, if we are allowing bad characters, then can be application can be crash. So there are some input validations here. I have listed few of them. So let's see each one of one. I will discuss in detail. I will show you in the postman also by opening these postman. So let's see. First one is input data validation. Another one is format validation. Then we have length validation, range validations, required field validation, and then allowed disallowed characters, status code validation. So we need to make sure that proper status code are returned. 2xx are for success, 4 double x for client errors. Custom validations, custom error messages. Then we have uniqueness validations. We need to make sure that application is accepting unique values. In the front, if you have in the UI case, if the user inserts the same data, then error message is shown already exists. Then API case, if the email is entered the field, then we should have proper response that this is already exist. 409. Duplicate dependency validation, file upload validation, cross-fit validation, security validation, pagination validation, ITT method validation. So before going into detail, let me share the screen. So share screen. Okay, let me open the postman. Here you can see we have job titles collection. In job title we have get job title, post job title, put job titles, get single job title, delete job title, get job types, and get job type, post job types. So let's see, in the get job title we have nothing. So let me post something here. You can see I have status inactive, and you can see if there is after the post, when it will get, there is, if there is status different status, so this means this is functional issue. We need to check we need to post this functional issue. Here we have description also. You can see we have SQL engineer description. So during guess which description, that description should be written, same description which we are posting here. So here you can see I have intentionally given the script, cross-site script, alert xss, so in the name field. So let's see what happens. Click on now, wait for a few seconds and see the response. So if everything goes okay, then 201 means status code 201 created will be shown. This means resource is created on the server. This means job title is created. So in this case job title will be created with the cross-site scripting. This means our API accepting the cross-site scripting. 201 created, message is job title added. So in this case, this one is job title ID, you can see. So now go to get and get that one. Let's see, you can see status is inactive. In the post case there was inactive. In the get we have active. So this is functional issue, so report that issue so developer can fix this. Another functional issue, you can see during post we have posted the description Q engineers, but in get we do not have that. So this is functional issue, another second functional issue. So so in the get case we should also have that field, description field. So report this functional issue also. So let's see this one name. You can see the name is accepting the cross types, so it is not sanitized. So this is another issue, security related issue need to post. So we need to check these for other fields also, keys also, in check for example if code, we need to make sure that these fields are accepting the valid range. For example, in the name case there may be 20 character accepting the range. We need to check this one also in that field. So for example in the job type, there in the job type we have contract. So this we need to post these job types. So posted should be accepted here. So in this case let me delete this one. You can see that delete http status code is for deleting. We need to delete that one. So this will delete, and you can see 201 no content is shown because our source is deleted. Let me send it again and see the response. In this case now we have response 404 not found because resource is already deleted. You can see here that our source job title was deleted. You can see that job title was deleted. So this same can be applied in the get job types other APIs. For example, here you can see get job types. We have these job types: contract, full-time, and part-time, internships, so on. So let's go back to presentation, stop here. So let's see data type validation. So in this case string ensures that input is valid string. Check length constraint. In number case, validate if the input is valid number including integers or floating point. Okay, so if there is a field which is only, for example, employee ID, so in the employee ID case we should have number. We need to make sure that it's accepting number, not text in that field. So boolean case input must be true or false. So in array case, check if the input is valid array and if each element has a correct type. In object case, ensure that the input is valid object with key value pair. So regarding format validation, which is very important to make sure that email is invalid format. In the email case, we have text at the rate of text.com. The URL case ensure that input follows the correct URL format, https colon slash example.com. So phone number should be validated based upon, for example, if we are using US, then proper US format we should be. In this case, you can see we have format. Date and time, ensure the valid date, ISO 8606 format, year, month, day, and time input. UUID, validate if the input is valid UUID. And here you can see the example. Then we have length validations. Min max length, validate minimum maximum length for string, array, or object properties. So it is very important to check exact length. Sometimes we have exact field length, so requires input to have exact length, for example 10 character identifier. So in if we are giving more than 10 character, then proper message should be displayed on the response instead of error. In case of range validation, we need to make sure min max value within specified range. For example, if we are 18 to maximum 100, so value should be between 18 to 100. Date time ranges ensures the date fall within the valid range. For example, past date, not future. Required field, ensure that mandatory fields are present in the request body. So we need to make sure which fields are required, which. So required field should have proper data in it. So if there is a required field, for example name, so the key is name, the value should be something in the name, so we should not empty. So in the post case, it should not post in empty name, it should return the message that name field is empty. Reject a request with missing required parameters. Ensure that fields are not empty or null if they are required. Validate default value if not provided. So allow disallowed characters. There are some characters less than, greater than, at the rate of, and so on. These should be rejected because they are used in SQL injection and so on. Injection attacks, cross executing attacks. So use escaping or sanitization where necessary. Then we have status code validations. 2XX for success, 200 for OK. So this status code indicates that the request was successful and server has provided the requested data. So it is most common response for successful GET request, allowing that the client request was handled properly. So 201 creative. 201, as you know, in this case we had created job title. In this case response was 201. So this response is returned when a resource is successfully created as a result of the post request. So then we have 204 no content. This status indicates that the server has successfully processed the request, but there is no content to return. So in this case we had deleted the resource, then server responded with 204. It is common use for operation where the client does not need any content back, such as delete request. Then we have 400 bad requests. This response is returned when the server cannot process the request due to something that is perceived to be client error. The server does not attempt to fill the request in such cases. So then we have unauthorized 401. In 401, this status code means that the client must authenticate itself to get the requested response. It is typically returned when the authentication credentials are missing or invalid, but the request may be valid otherwise. So unauthorized case, for example, when I provided invalid key So it will not authenticate, it will return 401. Then we have forbidden 403. Unlike 401 status code where authentication might resolve the issue, a 403 status means that the server understands the request but the client does not have necessary permission to access the resource. So for example, the user role is not in the, for example, if there is a permission that admin can access this resource, in this case 403 will be returned. This happens when the client is unauthenticated but lacks authorization. Then we had conflicts 409. This status code means that the request could not be processed because of conflict within the current state of resource. It is often used in situation where an update is being made and the change is conflict is what they already stored. For example, email address case. If there is same email address exist, then 409 will be returned. 429 too many requests. The server is returning this status when the client has sent too many requests in a given time frame. So this is very important during performance testing. The client needs to reduce the request rate or wait for allowed time window to pass before sending additional request. So then we have enum validation. Input should be limited to a predefined set of values. For example, status should be active, inactive, or pending. We have custom error messages. Make sure to maintain consistent structure and formatting for your custom error messages throughout the API to make sure debugging easier for client. For example, then here we have key values: status 404, error not found exception, message not found, node not found. In this case, node not found 404. Then we have path and timestamp. So this is best practice. This is the standard common language for communication. So all the developers should follow. If there is any deviation, then QA should report the issue. Then we have uniqueness validation. Ensure that specific field, for example, email or username, are unique within the database. For if there is any duplication, then below error message should be shown. Here you can see the key values: status 409, error, duplicate exception, message string is already exist. Then we have path. Given the path in this example, our path is /api/node/node category. Then we have timestamp, which follows the ISO standard. Then we have dependency validation. Ensure that one feed is valid based upon the value of another feed. For example, country, if the country is US, then the state must be present. In the US we have many states. File upload validation. File type ensures the uploaded file are of an allowed type. For example, JPEG, PNG. Other file type should not be our API should not allow to upload other file type, for example exe. Then we have file size. Validate that the file does not exceed maximum allowed size. First, if there is a limitation that 100 MB file should be uploaded, then more than 100 MB file should not be uploaded. In this case, proper validation error message should be shown. File content, ensure that uploaded file is not corrupt or empty. So file content should be proper. There should not empty or corrupted or file with some cross-site script in it. Cross-feed validation. Validate based upon the relationship between multiple feeds. Start date must be earlier than end date. Then we have security validation. SQL injection prevention. Use proper sanitization prevent SQL injection attacks. Cross-site scripting prevention. Sanitize user input to prevent malicious script from being executed. We have cross-site request forgery. Token, ensure tokens are present and valid for sensitive operations. Pagination validation. Limit offset validation. Ensures pagination parameter limit offset fall within acceptable ranges. So last one is HTTP method validation. In this case, we need to validate that the request uses appropriate ITT method get, post, put, delete for API input. So in the get case, we get the resource from server. In the post case, we create the new resource. Input case, we update the resource, and delete case, we delete the resource. So in this case, the delete, for example, delete should not do the post request. So proper ITT, we validate that the request uses appropriate ITT method. Okay, this was the end of this session. If you have any question, you can ask me. I have tried to cover things in quick way. If you need clarification for any point related to input validations, I will be happy to answer your queries. So there may be there may be possibility that I have missed something during my session. So you can ask. I will clarify your queries. Thank you very much. Bye.